Hello, and welcome to this quick module on how to use breakout rooms effectively in the Reading Language Arts classroom. I'm Leslie Zaroya, Coordinator for Reading Language Arts at the Los Angeles County Office of Education. If you have never done breakout rooms before, the easiest thing to do is to go to the Zoom Help Center and watch these super short how-tos. They walk you through how to do it in a few simple clicks. There's a handout attached to this module that has direct links to the Help Center videos on breakout rooms. These videos are super short and to the point, and you can learn how to set them up in under 5 minutes. But for the purposes of this module, let's assume you know how to set up breakout rooms. Reading Language Arts classrooms lend themselves to lots of collaboration through discussion, projects, brainstorming, reciprocal teaching, and other common strategies used for engaging with text. But how do we use breakout rooms and avoid the pitfalls of kids messing around, talking over each other, saying inappropriate things, and having basically zero productivity? The goal is for kids to be on task, have productive conversations, and complete whatever assignment they have been given. Let's look at a few ways you can set yourself up for success with kids in breakout rooms. We'll look at 7 strategies that can ensure success with breakout rooms. Laying the groundwork, starting small with pairs, using a short time frame in a quick product, training in small groups, providing clear directions, choosing activities wisely, and remembering to scaffold. Let's start with laying the groundwork. We know we can't just throw kids into breakout rooms and expect they will know what to do. Rules and norms need to be established so that the expectation is set up front that going into breakouts is not time for a free-for-all. It's so good to discuss and model specific behaviors you want to see. Talk with them about how it feels to be talked over, interrupted, and disrespected for sharing ideas. No student likes this, so starting with how it feels, is a good way to get them to recognize norms like talking one at a time, being respectful to people's comments and ideas, monitoring airtime and others. Let the kids decide what acceptable behavior looks like. If they set the norms, it's easier to hold them to it. I know this can seem weird, but I'd also role play a bit to show them what inappropriate and appropriate behaviors actually look and feel like. After the role play, ask them how it felt to be either heard and respected or not heard and disrespected. This makes a huge impression on kids. They get it. No one wants to seem like a jerk, so it's a really valuable tool for building community and having quality discussions. Next, start small. It's tempting to try and conquer Rome in a day, but usually when we rush these kinds of things, we regret it later. Start really small with breakouts. Do pairs first. I know it seems like a pain because you have to make more rooms and pairs can't have the same kinds of discussions as small groups can, but it really is the way to start. Pairs allow everyone to be heard and get used to sharing ideas and following norms. Having students rate their partner and themselves on how well they stayed on task and followed the norms is an awesome way to make sure everyone is doing what they are supposed to do. Also, strategically pair students so you can be sure that kids follow directions and get the needed support from a peer. Next, and this is a big one, don't let kids lounge in breakout rooms. When you are training them, only have them go in for 1 to 3 minutes. Have a very clear task, like brainstorm 5 qualities of the main character. Then give a short amount of time to complete it so that they feel a sense of urgency to get right to business. Be clear on how many minutes they have to do the task and stick to it. If you say they have 3 minutes, put a timer on and give them 3 minutes. If they see that you don't follow the time allotment, they'll lounge and wait to get going. Also, it's good to use the messaging feature in the breakout room box, the one that shows the members of each group, to signal to pairs that the time is almost up. Also, make each pair share an idea with the whole group so they get used to being held accountable. If they don't have to share anything, it's less incentive to do the work. So here's another thought. When you want to prepare students to work in a larger group, meet with small groups, not the entire class at one time. So let's say you meet with 8 students. You can do all of the practicing in a small setting so that you can monitor fewer groups and pop into their rooms to check on them. Then you can meet with another set of students and so on. It's a way to transition to group work without completely letting them go off on their own. Also, assign a norms monitor and a timekeeper and even a task manager. These roles help groups manage themselves and ensure the work gets done in the allotted time and in a respectful manner. I'd also get them used to the practice of self-reflection after a group activity. Have them rate how they did individually and how well the group functioned. This goes a really long way at creating agency and independence in group settings. Provide clear directions. This is one I cannot stress enough. Not having clear directions is a deal breaker. Kids will not be on task if they don't know exactly and explicitly what to do in their breakout room. Start by having students repeat what they think the directions are asking them to do before you go into breakout rooms. The directions also need to be written on a document in Google Drive or the like, so they can refer to them when they get into their room. I made this mistake in a meeting I was hosting, and they had forgotten what to do by the time they got into the rooms. It's just better to have the directions for the task in their hands. No excuses then for not doing the work. Now I always create a handout with directions and have people go to the Google folder before we do anything else. This one is interesting. We really need to think about the task we are asking students to do in a breakout room. Ask yourself, can they do this well in a breakout room? Is it feasible? Is it clear what to do? Does it require a group? How will being in a group be better than doing it alone? These questions are critical because some activities do not actually work very well in a breakout room. For example, journaling does not lend itself to group work. Having kids read extensive passages in groups is likely not a great way to use breakout rooms. Doing an artistic project or writing a poem is probably not the best use of breakout rooms. These are things that really only require the individual student to complete. But if you want to do something like a jigsaw and have small groups each take a small section of text and extrapolate 2 key ideas in a quote that was pertinent, then sure, they can do that and report back to the whole group. It's a good use of time and breaks the text into smaller chunks and gives everyone accountability. Brainstorming ideas is another great way to use breakout rooms, just not for a long time. So the bottom line is that we really need to think carefully about which tasks require group thought and which don't. The success or failure of the time is really dependent on this. Finally, remember that scaffolds are important wherever students are, and it's better to offer a scaffold than to not have one ready. Discussion starters are awesome to use to get the ball rolling, and sentence frames are always important, so don't forget to provide them for breakout rooms as well. Other scaffolds like note templates or even partially completed notes are important to have, especially because you are not in the room with them. Consider this as you design the task for the breakout room and ask yourself, what language or vocabulary might students struggle with, or text structure or concept, and create a scaffold that addresses that issue. It's just another way to make sure breakout time is productive and not a free-for-all. Breakout rooms can be a really great way to provide interaction for students in this virtual environment. I hope you found this useful. Thanks so much for watching, and don't hesitate to reach out to the Reading Language Arts unit if we can support you in any way.